do I use when it comes to an objection? And I started writing them out. And I came down to 5 main strategies that you could apply to different scenarios when it comes to sales objections. It's gonna be fun because a lot of these strategies you can mix together on the same call or the same proposal or the same kind of client. But other strategies, you're gonna say, you know what, this client fits this one. So it's gonna be a niche for different kind of clients, but also you could combine some of these strategies together on how to eliminate objections completely. So let's talk about the first one. This one here is the most basic way to respond to an objection, right? But it works. It's the ARC method, the acknowledge, respond, and close. Or you could do ARP, A-R-P, which is acknowledge, respond, and pivot. A lot of times salespeople, the number one thing that they forget to say is, I hear ya, I understand, that makes sense. I had that issue when I first started sales. I'd go straight to the rebuttal and I'd forget about the acknowledging. And that could play a big part in making the client think we're not actively listening to them. The client thinks we just care about the sale. The client thinks we don't care what they say. You know, they did a test in a research and they said that 50% of clients that felt like they were listened to had double the conversion of actually closing the deal with that salesperson. Why? Because people like to be listened to. The second strategy that I have for you guys, I call it the tap and lap. All right? Like, you don't really want to squash the objection. You don't want to throw a fist out there. You want to kind of just tap it, you know, tap the bruise a little. But don't go too far. And what I mean by that is this is for your clients that are a little more aggressive. Your clients that maybe you shouldn't attack them right away in the beginning of the call. Like, this comes with emotional intelligence. The best example I could give you of this is somebody that calls in and says like, I have a 3.5%. Could you beat my rate? They're coming for a battle right at the beginning of the call. And for you to lose the battle, you could say like, no, we have nothing near 3% in this market right now. Perfect, hang up, right? So how do you tap that kind of objection? I would say, look, we have a lot of different rates and a lot of different programs. 3.5 is a great rate, which I'd never want you to lose unless it made total sense. But let me see what's going on in your life. Pivot. So tell me, have you ever worked with us before? So I'm kind of tapping what he said. I'm not demolishing it, because if I try to demolish it, then I lose the battle. So I tap the objection and then I take a lap around it. Why do I say take a lap around it? Because I'm going to come back to it, right? So this is very important and key. If you just tap the objections and you run away, you're beating around the bush. And what happens at the end of the call? Well, I thought you guys do HELOCs. I thought you have this. I thought you have that. All the objections start rushing back to you at the end because you never completely squashed it. Or the Fruit Ninja, you get a combination of objections. This one I love, when you get 3-4 objections right in the beginning or at the end. You don't know which one to address, so I like to slash them all. So the best example I could give you of this one is you spend time with somebody, right? And then they tell you, you know what? And I all know we know a client like this. You know what? It all sounds good, but you know, I kind of want to put it to pen and paper, and you know, I probably want to talk to my wife about that as well. And you know, I have this other lender too that, you know, I wanted to talk to. He's a good friend of mine. And like, they hit you with 3-4 objections at once, and you're like, damn, where do I go from here? So what I do is I write them down, or like write down keywords: friend, wife, wait, and then I go Fruit Ninja all through all of them. I wait, I actively listen, I acknowledge, I say, hey, thanks so much for letting me know all that. A lot of that makes sense, and actually I'm glad you told me that, because as far as waiting is concerned, I don't recommend waiting right now because the market's just getting crazier and crazier, and the value is the highest it's ever been. Also, I know you mentioned your wife Jessica, and here's what I'll tell you, man. If I called my wife, her name's Marina, and I told her we're saving $800 a month, and we're getting a bunch of cash out, and we're getting rid of her debts and my debts, she's gonna be pretty happy. Do you think Jessica's gonna be happy too? Yeah, definitely she is. And I'm glad you mentioned your friend. Look, I'd never ruin a friendship for you, but here's what I'll tell you. If your friend truly cares about you, they want you to get the best deal. But what I'm giving you today is the best deal. As a matter of fact, if your friend offers you something better, send it over to me and I'll take a look and let you know if it's legitimate. But this is definitely the best deal for you. So here's the next steps. Like, what I did there is I had 3 fruits in the air and I slashed through every single fruit. And then I went to my close instead of running around it or beating around the bush or only trying to hit one. The back massage. I went to a masseuse one time at Massage Green. I got a bad history with Massage Green. I got a lot of crazy stories at these businesses. But anyways, this lady, I swear to God, I thought she was hired by my worst enemy. I went in there, okay, and she told me, what do you want? I said, I want to get rid of my knots. That's why I get a massage. Like, I could care less about the pleasure and the Swedish bullshit. Just give me a massage, get rid of the knots in my back so I stop feeling like shit when I'm sleeping, when I'm trying to wake up. She starts giving me this massage. She's like, is the pressure good? I'm like, it's a little hard, and trust me, I'm not a sissy, but this girl was putting it on me pretty hard. And I'm like, is it supposed to hurt this much? She's like, yeah, it's how we're gonna get rid of the knots. She literally fucked me up. I couldn't move the fucking next day. I thought this girl was hired by one of my ex-girlfriends. I'm like, there's no fucking way she got me like this. And she's like, put her elbow on me very hard, and the whole day I'm numb like I fucking lifted weights and maxed out the whole fucking bench rack at a gym. And I'm pissed off about this experience. And I said, that was the worst massage I ever got. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like knots are like objections in sales. And if a client has 5-6 knots in their back and pretend that their back is the phone call, then the knots are the objections. And a great salesperson gets rid of the knot completely and like rotates it and moves it around and gets it all the way to the arm, and then it disappears. But bad salespeople kind of touch it, leave it there. It's worse than where it started. They go too hard on it and they get the client mad, right? They don't touch it at all and they leave the knot there. And the client ends up getting frustrated at the end of the phone call or at the end of the sales interaction. So I think a great way to look at a phone call is like a back massage. I think if you drew out a back on a piece of paper, you could write down your 3 to 6 top objections that you get every single time. And after you write down those 3 to 5 objections every single time, you could write down what you're gonna do to massage those knots. Well, I'm gonna mention this about this, and I'm gonna plant this seed. I'm gonna share this story. And like, if you have 2-3 things to massage every single knot in someone's back, eventually you get rid of those knots, and by the end of the call, like the end of a great massage, you have no knots. You have a smooth back. You feel good. Well, at the end of a sales interaction, you should have no knots in your sale. You should have no objections left, because a great salesperson addresses them and squashes them every single time. The 8 Mile play, one of my favorites. We were playing 8 Mile in the beginning of this training, but this part specifically, in 8 Mile, if anyone's ever watched it, if you haven't, you have to watch it. And if you know Alex what's his name? Hermazi? Whatever his name is on Instagram. He mentioned 8 Mile after me. I've been saying 8 Mile for like 8 years now. 8 Mile and the objection play has been my play since Rocket Mortgage was Quicken Loans. Now people are starting to say, I have a feeling they've seen my videos. But anyhow, the 8 Mile play is genius because Eminem was very stressed and frustrated, like a lot of salespeople are sometimes. And he was sad and stressed and frustrated because one of his best friends wanked his girl. He got jumped by 5 guys. He lives in a trailer. They're gonna roast him in front of everybody, and he already knows that because he has so much shit that they can roast him on. So when he got the microphone, if you watch the movie, he roasts himself for 3 minutes before throwing the mic to the guy. He actually says, I am white, I am a effing bum, I do live in a trailer with my mom. He says he did F my girl, I'm still standing here screaming F the free world, and like so on and so forth. And at the end, he throws the guy the microphone. And the guy catches the microphone and he goes to say his piece, and the guy froze and he didn't say anything because Eminem took all the objections out that the guy was gonna say. And I think this play is genius for sales. That's why I always say the greatest way to start a sale before you go into your presentation is to 8 Mile all the objections. So it works in the beginning of the call by squashing them, but the best part I like to use it for is at the end. So at the end, before I go to pitch a product, I'd say something like, look, I know you want to talk to your spouse about this. We already talked about it. If you tell her A, B, and C, she's absolutely going to love this, right? Yeah. Also, you told me that, you want to wait on this, but we talked about waiting and how right now is not the right time to wait because things are crazy out there. And it's probably one of the worst times to wait. Remember that? Yeah. Yeah, we also talked about how, you love that interest rate you have. You have a very good low rate and you don't want to touch it. But right now with the recession and the savings and checking very low, it's inevitable that it's going to have to move. Remember? Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the good news here. You ready for this? And then I go into my presentation. What did I just do? Is the guy going to be like, what? I don't like the rate. Or what? I want to wait. It's like we talked about this multiple times. And then I 8 Miled it again at the end. So that's why I shouldn't get any objections because I squash them before the presentation even happens. And that is the 8 Mile play, one of my favorites, and I've been using it for a very long time. So those are the 5 top strategies in sales. I hope you appreciate them, and I hope you could leverage them not only in sales and leadership, but most importantly in your personal life, because that's the part I enjoy talking about the most. Show me how your personal life is doing. I'll show you how your business life is doing. They're directly rooted and correlated together. So thanks everybody for your time today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next week. God bless.